Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay, how you doing? Gee whiz, it's pea soup outside. Be careful if you're driving. It's, I'm sure, as they say, it'll burn off. And there's sun behind it. So, hi guys, how we doing? I just walked by a guy on the street. He was sitting on just sitting there on the ledge of some building. And he said, obviously recognized me. He said, Lynn, oh my God, how are you doing? And it's like people just keep saying, I mean, he was a stranger to me. How are you doing? Some people are doing better than others. I'm mad at all of you who are just getting on with things because I'm nowhere near there. And I don't know that I ever will be. Steve Inskeep of NPR did a interview yesterday, I believe, with the sort of the, I guess, publicity director or whatever, I don't know what his position is, of Breitbart. And these guys are smooth. And he batted everything away, and Inskeep eventually just sort of folded. So there we have, again, the normalization of Steve Bannon, the explaining away of the fact that a man who is just an out-and-out hater is now going to be made into, well, a very powerful man and respectable, and every time a story is done about him, it ain't going to have an adjective in front of it saying, Hitler in waiting. It's just not. It's just going to be, the president's chief advisor, Steve Bannon, said, and it's already getting there. I mean, there's not even been an inauguration. It's already getting there. So those of us who see these people for what they are going to have a very difficult time ingesting news sources, because they're just going to have to, well, not have to, they're going to do what they know how to do, which is treat this president as a president. And they're not going to question they're not going to remind people every time Bannon slips into a story, or any of the others, Giuliani, they're not going to do backstory. So it's hard. I am having a true struggle reconciling myself to the reality of the next 4 years. And, we keep saying next 4 years as if, of course, after 4 years, we're going to toss these guys out on their ears. But oh no. I talked to a Republican last night who didn't vote for Trump. And I said, the damage, I just can't imagine the damage. He said he thought it'd be a good 30 years before we could get ourselves back to where we might have been before. He thinks the damage will be that great. And he and I both agreed that both parties they're toast. I don't want to hear one other person say, I'll work with the president-elect. I don't want to hear one other Democrat say that. Every time a Democrat says that, I want to just scream. Really, guys? You know what? You're good at losing. You're good losers. You're losers. Republicans are lousy losers. They're also lousy winners. They're lousy losers because they never accept it. And they immediately go to war. Mitch McConnell, the day after Barack Obama was elected for the first time, he said, number one on our agenda, Number one on our agenda is to make this guy a 4-year candidate to get in the way of anything he attempts to do. Just right out there, right open. They didn't say, oh, well, we will reach across the aisle and work with the president when our interests coincide. We will give him a chance. No, they don't do any of that shit. And look where they are now. They own the government. We were eulogizing them for the last year, and they own the government. Who are the idiots and who are the losers? Yoo-hoo! Just saying. Just saying. And when I get beat, I like to look at what the guys who beat me did and think, okay, that's how this game gets played now? Well, then I'm going to play it. So, don't say to me, get over it. I will never get over it. I don't intend to get over it. And I don't intend to ever normalize this grotesquerie that is about to overtake our White House. Just saying. Okie doke. I told Celine this morning, I said, no, there's a lot of indicators. They're just indicators that the world's coming apart. I'm sorry, guys. And it's a little one. The New York Times crossword puzzle, which I do them at night before I go to sleep. Don't ask me. It sort of makes me, I don't know, but I do. So I'm behind. This is last Friday's. Jeez, I'm really behind. This is last Friday's, November 11th. I didn't have the heart. I was still in true pain and agony. But, so I did it last night before I went to bed. And I was having a lot of trouble on just one little thing here. I couldn't for the life of me figure out why it wasn't working. I'll give you the clue. 25 down, or dan, as we say around here. The clue is comeuppance. And the answer is clearly just desserts. Just desserts did not fit. So I thought, that's weird. Well, I'll just put just dessert then. Maybe that works. It didn't. It was driving me crazy. And then the unthinkable occurred to me. If I misspell desserts and instead write just deserts, will that work? Yes, that works. Just deserts. And it wasn't sometimes they have these little wacky pun things that might have been the right answer. But no, the right answer is just desserts. And they misspelled it in the New York Times. I have never seen that. And I've been doing these puzzles since the 70s. I have never seen that. Even the New York Times is dumb now. Will Shorts, the editor of the crossword, Will, U2, A2. I'm going to think it's the election. He might have been beside himself, too, and couldn't do his job. But, yeah, there it is. New York Times, 25 down, just deserts, and the world is, hell's freezing over and all that kind of stuff. It's just frightening. So, I forgot to say something yesterday about the fact that Ben Carson turned down a cabinet position because what did he say? He didn't feel qualified because he didn't have any government experience and that he's never really run a federal agency. That's what he said. He said, I can't. I mean, I really just don't feel able. I have never run a federal agency. Ben, woohoo! Ben, you were running for the presidency of the United States, which would be like a lot bigger of an administrative position in the federal government than just one department. Ben. The clown car. The clown car continues. You know, there's so many of these things that you do, you forget to even... This would normally... What did I see on Twitter? The fact that a guy has been elected the president who has troubling ties to Russia and, just keep adding on, is not a major news story. I mean, nobody's going nuts about it. It's not page one every day, people looking into it. It's just, we're I was going to say finished, but I really want to say another F word. Both of them would be correct. And to further underscore how what the world looks like now, the Oxford English Dictionary, which, as you know, is considered the dictionary of the English language. The Oxford English Dictionary has a habit of picking a word of the year every year. Well, they've done it again. And do you know what the word of the year is? Post-truth. Post-truth. In other words, they said that post-truth I guess the number of times it was used or derivatives of it, that this is the world we now live in, a world in which truth is of no particular importance, and that what someone believes trumps fact. The OED says post-truth. And they say in this case the prefix post doesn't mean after the truth, so much as it implies an atmosphere in which something is irrelevant. In other words, we now live in an age in which the truth is irrelevant. One of the spokespeople for the Oxford English Dictionary said that they chose the word because they noted a roughly 2% increase in its usage over the last year, and especially in social media. And the first big spike came in the UK after the Brexit vote. Post-truth. Obviously truth doesn't matter. And then it spiked again after Donald Trump secured the Republican nomination. So the OED says, fueled by the rise of social media as a news source and a growing distrust of facts. A growing distrust of facts. Post-truth, as a concept, has been finding its linguistic footing for some time. It was selected as the 2016 Word of the Year before results of our election were known. The OED says they like to choose words that highlight the interplay between our language and our culture. And the final word of the year that they come up with, they like to hope encapsulates the ethos, or lack thereof, the ethos, the mood, or the preoccupations of that particular year, and that will have lasting potential, as a word of cultural significance. The fact, one of the big things they noted is the fact that all the fact checkers looking at, for instance, the words of Donald Trump and the words of Hillary Clinton found that he received generally a very untruthful rating. His average rating broke Michelle Bachmann's previous Pinocchio average at 3.4. And the fact that Hillary Clinton's words and utterances put her in the same range as President Obama and Governor Romney, who are not known as huge liars, it didn't matter. Those were the facts. Hillary Clinton didn't lie anywhere near as Donald Trump, but when Americans were polled about who they felt was the more truthful of the two, Donald Trump absolutely clobbered Hillary. I can't find the exact numbers right now. But, which is to say that Americans, given facts, find them irrelevant. I don't know, how do you live in a world like that? I mean, how does a serious person live in a world like that? How does one govern in a world like that? Well, actually rather easily, because one would govern with propaganda. If facts are irrelevant, then you just make up whatever you need to make up, and if you have skilled people in knowing how to disseminate them, and man, you do. If you're Trump, you got Breitbart and Bannon sitting right next to you. Then you just rule, a word Donald Trump always used for the presidency, which no other presidential candidate ever has used. When Donald Trump rules, he will rule through the use, the very cynical use of propaganda. So there you do it. The people at the OED also said that their discussion this year about what the word would be was a lot more serious and somber than it has been in some other years. And also in the running was alt-right. So these are both hyphenated words, post-truth and alt-right, a word which I refuse to use, but all mainstream media, everybody's using it. So I guess eventually I'm going to have to capitulate myself. But alt-right is a word conjured up by racists who wanted to clean up their image. And so they came up with, rather than being known as racists or white nationalists, they decided they would come up with this alt-right. And the media say, okay, we'll call you that. We'll clean up we'll help you. clean up your... Why do they do it? Why do they do it? I won't. I will. God, I'm sorry about my voice. I'm blaming this weather. After a little bit of snow this weekend, I think maybe I'll clear up a little bit. Anyway, I ain't going to use it unless I'm quoting an article or something. I'm not going to use it. And just to remind you that last year the Oxford English Dictionary didn't even use a word as its word of the year. That tells you something, too. We're not only in the post-factual, post-truth realm. We're in the post-literate realm. So that last year's word of the year was an emoji. I suppose we'll just be grunting at each other pretty soon. We'll go back into drawing pictures. If you've seen that new movie about aliens landing on Earth called Arrival, I think it is. And it stars a linguist. I mean, the main character is a linguist who attempts to communicate. Yet language. And she starts with, they're pictures. That's what we're going to come down to, pretty much. Emojis. I use them. Pictures. Grunts. We're post-literate. We're post-truth. We're toast. That's all I want to say. If you want somebody to buck you up, you're going to have to turn someplace else, because I don't care if it's post-truth. I like to think of myself as a truth teller. Here's a piece of information. It's truth. Theodore Twardzik is dead. Okay? That's true. That's a fact. I defy you to say otherwise. Who is he? His mom, Mrs. Twardzik, used to make pierogies in her kitchen in Pottsville, PA. He turned it into a huge, successful corporation called Mrs. T's Pierogies. We'll take a call. Hello.
Hello, Clarence Cannisburg.
Hey, Clarence.
When it comes to the alt-right, all that has to be done is the same thing they did with ISIS, or ISIL.
Mm-hmm.
ISIS, also known as ISIL, blah, 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 blah. The alt-right, also known as the white nationalists, blah, 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 blah. Just add those two other words, also known as, or three other words.
I don't even think white nationalist is direct enough.
What is it?
Racists.
Yeah, go racist. Also known as...
The alt-right, otherwise known as racist.
A racist group.
Bigots.
Something like that,
Yeah, bigots, haters.
Put it first.
Neo-fascists. Yeah. Right. That's what it's. Neo-fascism is what it is.
Yeah, the neo-fascist group.
Right.
Calling themselves the alt-right.
Right.
Blah, 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 blah. And then if you say it enough, and if everybody says it, I just did it on Facebook. Somebody wrote something about the alt-right, and I said, the alt-right's also known as, those are white nationalists.
Uh-huh.
And she said, good edit on my post, Clarence. So,
I want to ask you something. I was with a group of like-minded folks yesterday, and two of them were wearing a safety pin. Mm-hmm. Do you know about the safety pin thing?
Yeah.
And then other people said that's really taken a lot of heat on social media from the people that it's supposed to be. In other words, from blacks, Muslims, and the people most at threat from these neo-fascists that have taken over our government. And I'm wondering what you think about it. I mean, my sense of it was to identify the wearer as somebody who was not a totally loathsome white person, but instead had not voted for these haters, and if you're one of the marginalized, you would be safe with this white person. I thought that's what it was saying.
Yeah, that's what it's.
And somebody said that's elitist, condescending, and it's bullshit. Where do you come down?
I've heard, because I'm such an open-minded person.
Yeah.
I've heard that argument,
Mm-hmm.
and I get it. It's one of those things like, oh, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
You trying to make yourself feel good about yourself and all that kind of good stuff that really has nothing to do. You want to do something, work harder at this and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I get that too, actually. That, it ain't about you maybe being mistaken for a true racist or idiot. There are bigger fish to fry here, and that safety pin does absolutely nothing for the people who are, in fact, in danger of deportation or being shot by a cop or any of the other, minorities in this country. So
Almost to protect themselves.
Yeah. So,
and the from being even considered a bigot or a racist. It's to save themselves. But on the other hand, trying to get into the mind of the people wearing them, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They need a release too. They want something to help them get through this and that and the other thing. See, that's
well, that's why you're a sweet guy.
Yeah, that's what I said. Because I'm so open-minded.
You see both sides.
Yeah, I see both sides.
Yeah. But if the intent is to say to the marginalized, I'm with you, mm-hmm. and the marginalized are saying back, fuck you, then take off the safety pins, I would say.
Yeah, but I'm not, I wouldn't say anything. I'm do what you got to do. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You know me. I'm rarely
right.
offended by things.
Yeah.
So,
right.
So
Well, I haven't worn one yet. I've been inclined to, and then mm-hmm. I got myself into this discussion yesterday, and now I'm all flummoxed, and I just don't. I'll probably not do it because it really was more about me. It was about my need not to have walk down the sidewalk and have a Muslim person approaching me and looking at me and thinking, God, I wanted to say, no, I'm okay. I'm okay.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry I'm laughing, but this got me thinking. You say walking down the street and have somebody look at you and think.
But aren't you doing that? Now, I'm doing that all the time now.
No, but here's the thing. Okay, think about the black guy who's been walking down the street and having people think.
Yes.
Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Can't put on a safety pin. I can't remove that darkness from I can't believe.
Yeah, if all black guys just wear safety pins, and white women will stop clutching their purses when you approach, and store clerks won't follow you around when you go shopping.
That's the point. That's one of the points that I heard too about the safety pin.
What?
I can't take off. I can't.
Oh, I can't take off my skin. Yeah. Right.
Yeah, but that's an interesting thing to get people to think deeper into themselves and to and to relate better. Like now that pin showed up, people could say, "Oh shit, I never thought of it that way before."
Maybe, it'll make somebody think.
Yeah, well, there's certain people who are never going to think, but there's certain people who have the capacity to.
But a lot of people, most people have the capacity, but they don't have the inclination.
Ah, there we go. I like that word better.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Because if we live in a post-truth world, why would you even bother? Everybody makes up their own
truthiness. That was got word of the year.
That's right.
Was great.
Colbert was ahead of the game.
Yeah, but to that is that the way to fight the post-truth phenomena is it's a matter of style. With you can argue and use the same styles that the Republicans use, but only do it with truth. The constant repeating and repeating and repeating and repeating
of a lie.
Just
right.
do it with truth.
Right. That's right.
And, they even put the anger in the touch of fear, whatever's needed, but do it with the truth. Now, as I'm saying this, I'm thinking the fear of like global warming and the truth of it.
That didn't work.
It didn't work.
No, I think it only works when you're telling people something they want to believe or need to believe, right?
What they call confirmation bias.
Yes, that's what it's called. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah. So
I know it's what it's called because
Okay.
I've been using it.
okay,
a lot.
confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias.
Tell me what I want to hear.
Well, there's another one too. Cognitive dissonance, which is another one of
That's one I use all the time.
Yeah, because people say, I don't understand how people can say this and do that. It's hypocritical. They go right against each other. Cognitive dissonance.
Welcome to the world I live in.
My favorite meme that I saw after this election online was a picture of a bunch of guys in with Confederate flags and it's Trump screaming. It's like irony. These guys telling Hillary saying you lost, get over it. That's the best.
It's like almost 200 years later, they haven't gotten over it.
Yeah, I said,
right.
That's a good theme, and I'm sorry I didn't think of it.
Oh, it's good to laugh. Thank you.
You're welcome. Talk to you later.
All right.
Oh, by the way, real quick, I'm actually having dinner tonight with Sissy White Liberal. He's coming through.
Oh, give him my best.
And I'm not done. Christina, Katie's mom.
Oh, wow.
How cool is that, huh?
That's totally cool. You'll have a wonderful time. Give everybody my best.
I will.
Okay.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
Clarence just referenced callers to my radio show for years, and also I don't think Christina ever called, but her daughter, Kate, was a guest on my show because she was homeschooled. And you don't need me to go down memory lane here. But what a wonderful, wonderful kid that is from a wonderful family. We have another call. Hello.
Well, I don't know if it's hello, because that seems to imply that this isn't any way a good morning or a good day.
Well, hello's okay. I mean, lots of times, don't you, when you say good morning, you sort of drop the good and you just say morning.
That's true.
So morning works. It's just that's a statement of fact. It's morning.
It is indeed morning.
And in fact, yes, you're not even saying how it's spelled. So it could be MOURN, and it's a perfect way to greet people now, morning.
I'm just wondering if there really would be any possible way to stop this moral cretin from reaching the White House.
No. Our system elected him.
He actually had. I think my mind is still reeling at this unfolding nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'm hoping beyond hope that as he continues in the interim to embarrass himself and disgrace our nation and propose absolutely repugnant, horrifying policies, that the electors might actually decide to do their patriotic duty.
Yep.
I'm not suggesting they vote for Hillary Clinton.
No, but this is called magical thinking.
You're right.
I mean,
again, I never thought that in 2016, a man who is going to assume the office would be proposing a registry for members of a religious minority in our nation.
Well, but as I said, these are neo-fascists. They're following the playbook. It's what they did to the Jews in Germany. You get a list. Huh?
Equally repugnant henchman, one of the people responsible for the debacle of Kansas, to actually defend this policy on the basis that's constitutional given what
the Japanese internment.
Disgracefully, the biggest blot by far on the great President FDR did to the Japanese Americans during World War II.
Yeah. Exactly. It's interesting, but stop and think about. By the way, stop and think about that. Anybody who still doesn't get that, we rounded up Japanese Americans and stuck them in prisons, families, children, old people. It didn't matter. What mattered was that they were ethnically different. Now, but we were at war with the country of their origin. Not necessarily their birth, their ethnic origin. Oh, but we were also at war with Germany. Did we round up and imprison all the German Americans? Or the Italian Americans? No, because they looked like us.
You know, the most heinous part of all that is there was not one conviction of any Japanese American or even legal Japanese national residing in the United States
For treason.
of any act of sabotage or
Yeah,
treason.
right.
There were what are called Nisi women, okay, who were American-born Japanese. They were born in America of Japanese parentage. Three women were trapped essentially behind enemy lines when they were visiting family in Japan. They were pressed into service.
They were used, yeah.
As Tokyo Rose.
Right, with
Rose
guns to their
three
heads.
women.
Right.
They
So,
were the worst.
well,
They were
here-
the worst, and they were all tried
Yes.
in American courts. But there were actual Bundists, German Bundists in the United States who did commit acts of treason. There was an actual Axis Sally, who was a Midwestern white woman, who acted as propagandists for the Nazis. None of them prosecuted. None of them.
No. We are a racist nation. We have always been a racist nation. We have made great strides in attempting to better ourselves over the course of our history. But this, right now, America, is a huge, giant step back. I mean, it's huge. It's huge. And we now know we're a racist nation. So don't be surprised by registries of marginalized groups who we're now all supposed to look at with suspicion. As I said, this has been done before, and anyone who knows history is not surprised. Hey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it.
Sorry, I have to make the call.
Yeah, hang on. Hang in. Bye. Hang on and hang in. I just want to share with you something. As I said, this is what the Germans did, the fascists, when they came to power. And, you know, a group of historians who happen to be also Jews have written a letter to, not to the president-elect, to us, to the American people. And they're saying, guys, we're historians. We know what this is. We know the danger right now. And here's part of what they say. Hostility to immigrants and refugees strikes particularly close to home for historians and Jews. As an immigrant people, Jews have experienced the pain of discrimination and exclusion, including by the United States in the dire years of the 1930s when this nation refused to take in Jews, including children running for their lives, who were returned to Europe and to their deaths. America, we did that. The historians write, our reading of the past impels us to resist any attempts to place a vulnerable group in the crosshairs of nativist racism. It is our duty, the historians write, to come to these people's aid and to resist the degradation of rights that Mr. Trump's rhetoric has provoked. Hatred of one minority leads to hatred of all. Passivity is a luxury you cannot afford. Demoralization is a luxury we cannot afford. We stand ready to wage a struggle to defend the constitutional rights and liberties of all Americans. It is not too soon to begin mobilizing in solidarity. Those are historians. And you do know that those who do not know history are condemned to repeat it. So if the worst of the worst of the worst happens, don't later be an American who says, but I didn't know. I really didn't realize about these people. I mean, they were saying they were going to fix things, and I believed them. I mean, respectable people were believing them. I didn't know. Henry writes, I missed the first 10 minutes of the show, so excuse me if you covered this, but did you see Hillary's public appearance last night? No, I didn't, because I can't look at her. I can't look at any of this. I can't look at him. I can't look at her. I thought she looked tired, and I think her comments that she just wanted to curl up and withdraw is exactly how many. Oh, yeah, that's what she said, yeah. I looked at her and cried for what could have been. Also, I guess this means that our government will start uttering the words that Obama wouldn't. Radical Islam. Oh, and Islamic terrorism. Oh, yeah. We're going to be targeting those Muslims. God help them. We have a call. Hello.
Morning.
Morning.
Lynn, the Democrats are just going to have to take a page from the Republicans' playbook.
I wish they would, but they don't seem to be.
Stop Trump like the Republicans did. Look how well they did on Obama. I mean, he could have, a lot of shit could have got done, but they stopped him, and we've got to do the same damn thing. That's why, and first of all, I don't think Trump and the Republicans are really on the same page on a lot of stuff. There's going to be a lot of infighting in there.
Yes.
So it's going to take time for them, not to say they're going to do damage. I agree. They're going to fuck things up. But,
well, you know what? You can see he has set it up. The
right.
two warring parties in the appointment of Reince Priebus to
right.
be his, because that's the representation of the establishment, and then, of course, of Steve Bannon. But I will tell you, of the two, the one who is the soulmate to Trump is Bannon. Without a doubt.
Right.
And Bannon plays Trump like a fiddle.
I mean, we can stop the bleeding come midterms. We have to do that. If we don't, and he does still have control, then we're really screwed. We can stop the bleeding. So it's not all lost.
We're not going to stop the bleeding in the midterms because the
the
percentage of Democratic senators who are up is huge, just huge. And my understanding is they're not all. I mean, you could see even a pickup for Republicans. Remember the states. Yeah. Remember the map. Remember.
We're screwed. And I didn't know that. I thought we could.
No, I don't think it'll happen.
We're screwed.
Not unless they are so catastrophically. And
tax cuts, wars.
Well, we'll see. Maybe they'll be smart enough to throw some sops to their people so that their people will keep giving them a little time, you know?
Recession.
I don't know.
Roe first Wade.
You know, the thing is, we're all going to find out.
If that's the case, I thought we could get the Senate again.
I don't think so.
I didn't know that.
I don't know, but I don't think so.
Wow. Then we're pretty much fucked. Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't.
Bye.
Well, you made me depressed.
Good. That's my job.
Goodbye.
Bye. Mary writes, you know, alt-right sounds like all right. These people are linguistic geniuses. It makes me nuts, she says, and anyone falling for it and using their words, they are linguistic geniuses. And we, our side, are linguistic morons. Morons. We're too busy using words to not hurt people, right? And they're busy using words to control people and to move people. We're too busy saying, oh, no, you can't say that. You can't say that. You can't say that. That's how we approach words. Both of us understand words are powerful. But they use powerful words for power. I don't know. Just wanted to point out here, this is interesting. Somebody sent me something that deserts, the expression meaning, it originally was just deserts. The phrase is the last refuge of an obsolete meaning of desert, namely something that is deserved or merited. That's a definition of desert? Desert. Deserved. It's probably, well, I bet you're going way back, because then it would be the, wow. But because most modern English speakers are unfamiliar with that old sense of desert, I would say all of us, the phrase is often understandably written just deserts. Using just deserts is not a serious error and is much more common than just deserts in 21st century texts. Some people still consider it wrong. Whether to pay this any heed. Wow. Well, you've never heard anybody say just deserts. He got his just deserts. We say just desserts. But thank you for that. Yesterday, the mayor of New York met with Trump, and one of the things he told Trump was, do you realize there are 900 Muslim New York Police Department officers, 900 Muslims in the NYPD who now have to safeguard your sorry white wrinkled ass? Yeah, de Blasio went to see Trump. By the way, that block of Fifth Avenue where Trump Tower is, if you know New York, I mean, that is the real estate of, that is where all tourists sort of go. It's where all the big stores are, all the shops. The Secret Service wants to shut it down during his presidency. The buses. What? The buses. That's a huge, Fifth Avenue is a huge, wide avenue. They want to shut down that block? Well, then where the hell do the buses go? Down those tiny little cross streets? The mayor of New York is fighting back. And he said we could consider closing it on occasion, but And they already have closed down East 56th so that his limos and Secret Service vehicles can be parked there. And as you know, he has said that he doesn't want to really, he looks at the White House as a dump, I suspect. And he doesn't want to stay there. I bet he looks at Air Force One as a dump of a plane. This is a real come down for poor Donald. And he wants to sleep in his own bed. But I'm thinking, you're the effing president. You can stay at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue where you're working, not in Trump Tower. They're also saying that he's been calling, or people talking to officials from his penthouse in the Trump Tower. None of his phones there are secured in the way a president-elect should be. He who was all over Hillary Clinton for, not caring about national security. It is just, you could lose your mind. There's a piece in the New York section of the New York Times today about how tourists are just going to that block and staring at it. There's a little line here about a group of high school students visiting from Pennsylvania gathered on a corner and spat at the building. Two gay guys from England stood outside behind a police barricade for 2 hours hoping to spot him. One of them, Pete Thacker Davis, said, "I'm standing here hoping I'll actually see him, that I actually could say I saw the devil himself." Well, Okay, where am I here? You know what? Let me before we lose track of our time. I'm always here depressing the hell out of you. Let me tell you, this election has been bad for my health. There is no doubt about it. My behaviors when I'm anxious are not positive behaviors. I don't go out for a run. I don't go to yoga. No, I eat. I drink. I do all the stuff you're not supposed to do. If I were still a smoker, I would have chain smoked my way through this. And I bet a lot of poor smokers have. So what I'm going to suggest for all of us who have packed on the pounds and maybe realize that our smoking is under control and that we don't have good behaviors to deal with stress, that there is a way we could begin to battle back. And that is hypnosis. Hypnosis. It is channeling your own brain's power to be on your side for a change. You know how our brains can mess with us? Whisper in our ears, tell us all the wrong things. God knows mine does a lot. Hypnosis. Done right. Done by Dr. Bill Stiles, for instance, will use your brain. He sticks stuff in your head because you want him to. You know, that's why this works. And all of a sudden your brain is on your side. And something like smoking that you thought you could never kick, no problem. Something like your ravenous appetite, which you thought you could never control, you can. I mean, I have seen so many testimonials from people who went in desperation to Dr. Stiles to stop smoking, to stop their eating, and success, new life. Many of them say to him, "You saved my life." I'm just saying, as a former patient of his, there is that potential there. If for any reason you think this is something that might work for you, man, do it. Let me give you a phone number for Dr. Stiles. And don't just sit on it. Call now. Call now. 724-656-0454. 724-656-0454. He's been doing this for over 50 years. This guy knows what he's doing. I know he knows what he's doing. So, as Donald Trump would say, trust me. But I hope you know you can. He's good. That's all I wanted to say. Brooke says, what really irks me about all of this is that the Republicans did not expect to win. No, they were, think of all those Republicans. They knew they were going to get their clocks cleaned, and that's absolutely right. They were just trying to hold on to their congressional power. Trump's own surrogates have said that the transition is going slowly because they did not expect to have to govern. Many Republicans, like Paul Ryan, distanced themselves from Trump because they didn't expect to have to deal with him as president. The fact that the Republicans, Brooks says, own the House, Senate, White House, and Supreme Court this week, when only last week they expected to hold on to only the House, infuriates me. Yeah. It was one hell of a... I'm for recognizing reality. I really am. I'm not one of these post-fact people. And we got our faces shoved in fact. Donald Trump has been elected to be the president of the United States. Period. Fact. So Bob Dylan's not going to go to the Nobel thing. That's sort of, come on. He says he has a pre-existing commitment. But you know what? If you go on his website, he doesn't have any scheduled concerts. I thought that's what it would be because he's on tour constantly. So he just doesn't want to. I bet he doesn't want to put on the penguin suit he has to, because that's a white tie affair. Can you imagine him in that? I mean, so he's not going. Now, I mean, that's happened before. Harold Pinter, 2005, got the Nobel, and he did not go to Stockholm to accept the award, but that was because he was gravely ill at the time. So that's that good excuse. And then Alexander Solzhenitsyn, when he was named the Nobel laureate in literature in 1970, he also said, I cannot attend because, frankly, he was afraid that if he left the Soviet Union, he would never get back in. Why the hell he'd want to, I don't know. But he, at the time, was a dissident and wanted to stay and fight. So he didn't go because he would. So Dylan's reason is a little weak, sort of akin to, the dog ate it. But so he's not going. I did find out something that I didn't know. So the Nobel people say, well, there's no, we give it to you whether you show up or not. That's not necessary. But it turns out there is a requirement for someone who wins the Nobel. And I guess if you don't do this, they will take it back. And the requirement is, for a literature winner, is that you must deliver a lecture within 6 months of the ceremony. Now, I suppose Dylan could say, well, since you made me the literature laureate, and I'm a songwriter, I guess a concert could be considered a lecture for him. I don't know. But he also has written books. I don't know. Enough, Bob. In some ways, I think he knows how to get more attention. So, I'm not going to be able to stomach these people. I don't know what I'm going to do. I really don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I remember saying maybe 7-8 months ago that if Donald Trump were to win, which I thought was like, yeah, and if pigs fly and the sun rises in the the west. I don't know where I am anymore. I said that I would not be able to do this show. I remember saying that. I said I wouldn't be able to do it. Because in order to do this show, I have to pay attention. And if Trump were president, I said I couldn't bear to read the newspaper. I couldn't bear to stay up on things. I couldn't bear to be forced to start my day with it and then to care about it. And here I am. So we'll see. We'll see. And now Ivanka is hawking the bracelet she wore on 60 Minutes. She's hawking, I didn't know that she did this, the dress and all the other crap she wore at the Republican convention. She immediately posts it. You want this stuff? You just go to my website. The bracelet, by the way, you can have for just $10,800. And people thought the Clintons were money grubbers. Remember, they're selling the Lincoln bedroom to the highest bidder. You can spend the night. That didn't go into their pockets. Chris writes about this, that she was selling the jewelry but then took it down from her website after the backlash. But Melania, our first lady-to-be, is still hawking her jewelry, according to Chris, on the government website. What? On the government website? No. Really? For her jewelry. We are paying for them to sell their shit and make money on our dime? And the person picked to head the energy department is an oil billionaire tycoon? I mean, get used to contaminated and unfishable waters along with, oh, sure, other environmental atrocities. Hey, man, all of the regulatory agencies of the government will be turned on their heads. This happens in any Republican administration. The Environmental Protection Agency becomes the Polluters Protection Agency. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration becomes the boss's Health and Safety Administration. The, you name it. You name it. They don't believe in government. So all the mission statements of all of those agencies will be turned on their heads. The Department of Labor? Oh, well. All right, that's it for me. That's it for today. I guess I'll be back tomorrow because you know what? I don't know any better, apparently. It's gotten to be a habit. So have a good one. The fog's lifting in a literal sense, not a metaphoric sense. Be well.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.